Welcome back. It's been about a month since I started my shoot 'em up slash Space Invaders clone as my intro to game dev project. So, in this video, I wanted to go over some of the things I really struggled with and some of the things I thought was actually really cool and how I figured out my first initial steps into this process. Before that, I just wanted to say thank you to all of you who watched my initial video declaring that I'm going to try my hand at game dev. The feedback has really been awesome, so I really appreciate that you all took the time to watch the video. If you want to see more, please like this video, let me know your interest, and consider subscribing. So let's start this video like every good story at the end. Here's a quick snapshot of what I've been cooking up this last month for this project. So here's my game as it stands 1 month later from starting. We can click here and we can start playing it. I have a little start menu. You can't change the window unless you go into this options tab. I did that pretty fast, but we start up and we play. You can hear the nice little sound effect as well. We have a normal type enemy here that will come down from the top of the screen. It will deflect asteroids and not take damage. And it'll rack up the score, as you can see in the bottom left. It also keeps track of your highest wave. Right now, the enemy don't really attack you and for this enemy specifically, but they will eventually. They will have other enemies that do that, and you can pick an upgrade in between waves. Now that was a fast enemy there. So this is kind of the basic architecture that I'm going for right now, is just a few different types of enemies in this base format of trying to dodge these asteroids as well as going through the waves and upgrading as we go. We do have a different type of attack known as like a missile mine thing that will launch itself at the nearest enemy and do a significant more damage. So the way I have this set up too is I can customize these waves pretty modular. They're very modular. I can change the waves pretty easy. Like it's not built out past 4 here or 3. So this is kind of how the start of the game is looking. When I first decided I can and wanted to do game dev, I knew I was in for a challenge. Having little to no background in programming was going to be my biggest obstacle for sure. To help me get myself ready, I tried to learn about Godot and just watch as many tutorials as possible. I tried to stick to ones that would actually just walk you through step by step how to do every little thing basically. In a later video, I do plan on ranking kind of the first tutorials that I started with and how well they actually helped me and how well I, reference them later. But I won't go into big details about specific tutorials and what I learned, but the 2 big ones that I started with were Breaky's How to Make a Game tutorial and GD Quest's Your First 2D Game from Zero tutorial. These tutorials were great because they really show you how Godot works, especially like nodes and things of that nature, attaching scripts to nodes, basic signals, stuff like that are very fundamental to Godot. They also just walked you through their code, which is very simple. There's nothing groundbreaking. It's not going to be expert level programming code, but it at least gives you the basics. It gives you a sense of accomplishment that you completed something. These tutorials were great for just playing around with the software, understanding it, especially if you follow along. These tutorials also gave me like a good understanding of the node system, which is very, very, very daunting at first because there's just so many nodes in Godot that all have little functionality to do different things, and it's good because you have a lot of options, but it can be scary for someone who's new. But after these tutorials, I felt pretty confident that I could at least make some sort of character. I didn't know what it was at the time, and make it move and make it attack and do something. So once I felt confident that I could do that, I begun designing this little guy. He's our rotisserie chicken, or you can call him maybe RC1, something cutesy like that. But the first few sketches and drafts of this player or ship that was going to be our player's ship was very rough. I am not good at art. As good as I am at programming and how beginner I am at programming is about, 2 levels, 3 levels higher than I am at art. I am terrible at art. So this is really good for me. This is really good art for me. So this player, it ended up being pretty simple. It was very easy to just use the animated 2D sprite, put a few marker 2Ds that will take the position of the bullet when we instantiate it into the scene, and then shoot them off in a direction which the bullets will control. So this is my first attempt at a script, which was very interesting. I did have to look up some things such as like the mouse position and things like that, but I'm not trying to, fake that I'm a master and know all, and it didn't take me like a few Google tries and like looking up tutorials, but based off the first tutorials I did, I was able to do like this direction pretty easily. Set the velocity with the speed, move slide, boom, character moves. That's all I wanted. I was so happy when I got to this point here. And then I made it so it shoots as a cooldown. Eventually added the missile, but that comes later, which we won't probably talk about a lot in this video. But then yeah, the simple shoot bullet script that I did get from GD Quest's tutorial that I talked about earlier, where you just instantiate a bullet, give the bullet the global position of the marker and the rotation so it knows where on the screen it's pointing to shoot, and then it does it. So if we look at our enemy or our player here, there they are. They move around the screen, they shoot. I added sounds, which is a nice little effect as well, which is going to be important and very troublesome later, I'm sure. But I was so happy to get to this point where it has the sprite has animation. It shoots the bullets in the direction I want. The bullets look okay too, I think. All very fun stuff. So after I did that, I immediately started creating enemy types. So the first enemy type will be this little guy. Well, I was going for like a UFO looking ship. That was going to be like the base enemy. And I wanted them to like kind of crank the lever and move down the screen at a certain pace. And this is kind of what I started. I don't know why the ship has a face on it. I don't know why. I thought it looked cool. It looks fine. But this is kind of the basis of an enemy that I wanted. I wanted a simple enemy that will legitimately just go and once it is in the scene, it just moves down the screen. Take the position Y and just add the speed, which I believe the speed is 150. In Godot, this is a trippy thing that I didn't realize. Positive Y is down and negative Y is up. Threw me off so hard, but anyhow, that's not the point. So, simple function of just go downwards at a certain speed. Cool. And then, after a certain distance is traveled, get rid of yourself. Very simple code for this enemy overall. There are some stuff I add later that's just nice effects, but we can talk about that more in depth at a later time. So after I got my first enemy in, you saw me in the beginning of this video shooting them. It felt so good. It was so much fun. So I decided let's make another enemy. Now this guy is my fast enemy, and if you couldn't tell, he's fast. So these ones, the idea was that their speed is going to be much faster than the other normal base enemies. I am terrible at names, so this is just fast enemy right now. And we just have a couple of variables we have the base function that's basically the copy and pasted from the base enemy, which makes it go downwards. But I did add an extra function here that will randomize the direction of the X movement, right? So there'll be times when it'll move to the left and then switch to the right and switch to the left, switch to the right. And it's all based off this RNG that I've implemented here. So very, very nice, very, very easy way to do, just switching back and forth. And probably a way better way to do this, but this is the way that I found as a beginner that worked well. Those initial tutorials they do a good job of walking you through it's like step by step how to do certain things, but they don't really teach you programming logic in general. Like using booleans to, basically have flags on what's happening. Like they didn't do a good job of that, and I'll talk more about this in later tutorial stuff. So the beginning steps of my code were very, very rudimentary. They're very, very easy. There wasn't much to them. Whereas later on, I think when I look more at code like for the health component and doing stuff with like the shield, I think it worked out much better, and I think I did it much more effectively. Now that I had enemies that could be spawned, I was so pumped to actually go in and make the actual spawner for these enemies, which again, super easy because the concept of the game is super easy, right? So this is just a 2D path that will randomly take a number along itself, and that's the position of the enemy. And because all the enemies are programmed to just go straight down the screen, they just fall into the screen and then you can attack them. Super easy. I felt like really, really good about how quick and dirty this was. Now, with the basis of enemy spawning and the basic combat of the game, I did want to add a little wrinkle, and that is the meteors. So if we go back into the game here, you'll notice that we do have meteors that are constantly flying around the screen, getting in the way. And these are going to be crucial to the gameplay, I believe. It's going to make it hard. It's going to make it rewarding to actually be good at the game. So implementing these was pretty easy for the most part. We just used a similar functionality initially for just things moving. Like we wanted there's a rotation, so they spin differently. The initial velocity is a vector, which vectors were so hard when I first started. I had no idea what the heck of a vector was, but I figured that out pretty quick. So this vector is 250 by 250. I think later on I set it later to something so it moves more flat across the screen, because this will go at a 45-degree angle downwards to the right. If we played it right now, you'd actually go down to the right, 45-degree angle. Like that. Not great for what I actually wanted it to do, so I made it a little bit shallower. But the big difference between what these do and what enemies do is these have a move and collide, and the velocity will basically be corrected and bounce off of the other things because of it. So it actually feels like a meteor in space. It's actually very, very cool. I love it in practice. Little quality of life thing is making just the sprite rotate so it looks like they're moving through space at different angles and different speeds and things like that. Eventually I'm going to make them so that they are different sizes too. I think that would be a really cool thing, but I think that's a little farther off. So with everything that I've talked about in this video, that's kind of the basics of what this game is going to be. It's going to be enemies spawning from the top of the map here, and they're going to come down and they're going to try to invade our home, and we're going to try to stop them and defend it. I would say it's a pretty normal shoot 'em up type space game. Nothing super crazy conceptually about it. So, I mean, obviously there's a lot of things I haven't talked about yet to you guys, mainly like boundaries, UI, how I collect the data, what my data systems are right now. If that's something that you guys are interested in, especially, I mean, since I'm a beginner, if you want to see how I thought to do it and maybe could want to offer suggestions, I'm totally down to make videos about that. Maybe even videos where we just, look at the progress in the past month and I talk about every little thing that I did. We can go push by push to GitHub about, what I did, and we can go over that all together. I'm down for that as well. I also live stream this, so if you want to watch me pull what little hair I have left out of my head, you can come watch that, especially if you're subscribed, have the notification bell on. You'll get notifications of when I'm live streaming, so that would be an awesome way to support me as well. So now that we're kind of wrapping up this video, let's kind of talk about goals for this game. I'd really love to get this into like a pre-alpha, early demo, where it's super quick, super dirty, and I just give you guys the game and you play it. And we can have a dialogue about what's good, what's bad, why'd you do this, this is terrible, this game isn't fun. I think I want to get to that point where I think I've built enough skills to feel comfortable to put something out. And I think I'm getting really close, especially for this game with how simple it is, which I'm thankful I picked something that's so simple to start with. I think that's something that a lot of people don't do, is they don't pick that simple concept to start with to work on for, however long they decide to work on it. And it can, really mess you up. Obviously, there's some things I really need to work out, such as like a name for the game itself and some enemies in the game. So if you have any ideas, any suggestions, feel free to leave a comment. Let me know what you think, and maybe we can have like a poll and the community can decide what we call this stuff. Thank you guys again so much for watching this video. Please consider subscribing if you enjoyed the content and you want to see more of this journey. Leave a like so I know the interest is high for this type of content. The initial video did way better than I thought, so I mean, I'm gonna keep giving you guys as much as you'd like to see. So you just gotta let me know. Hopefully we can get this game out to you guys as an early demo very soon. And yeah, thank you all so much for your support, and we'll see you in the next one.